Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, as she said, it's indeed a very important topic, and I'm sure everybody is eagerly waiting for that. Yeah? We just having buildings, computers, is chairs and tables and desks and everything is not going to be enough, right? We want people. People to do the work, people who make that environment lively. And that's the reason today we are here, where I would like to start with the quote from Richard Branson, which says, "Clients do not come first. Employees come first. You take care of your employees and they'll take care of the clients." Right? So welcome everyone. Thank you. Welcome everyone to today's panel discussion on prioritizing people, fostering well-being and inclusion for a dynamic world, and to explore a lot of strategies for promoting well-being and inclusion at our workplaces with such eminent panelists here. I won't take a lot of time. I would really want to start rather, and we want to also learn about how these three important aspects which I've talked about, the trust, tech, and talent, are important when we talk about well-being and inclusion. Our esteemed panelists will share innovative approaches to employee well-being, practical steps, experiences in their work, some insights on navigating the challenges when we say that we want to have inclusive world. And this is an invaluable opportunity to learn from the experts and how to build a thriving, inclusive workplace where every employee feels valued and respected. So thank you for joining us today, everyone. Randeep just now said that the last sentence was, yes, hybrid is going to be the way forward. Yeah, we want to build strong organizations. And when we say we want to build strong organizations, there are a lot of factors which come into picture, right? And trust, technology, hiring and retaining the top talent is something which is very, very important. And that too, in this hybrid environment, is a challenge. So I want to start with Archana Srivastav. You are a pioneer in HR and are the recipient of the well-regarded HR Innovator Award. Your agenda of our HR that caught my eye was where you say that I want to have workplaces where there's experience, it creates experience. You strongly believe that human beings should be treated like feeling beings. So how can leaders build workplaces where people feel being, that experience is there, the special experience, and specifically when you talk about this hybrid workplace?
Hello. So thanks for the question and thanks for doing that research and understanding what I formally believe, Gitanjali. And I think a lot of things would have been covered since beginning. I heard couple of seconds to him, and you also rightly mentioned that except all of us, all are the resources here, right? And when we see in terms of the business, okay, when we run the business, be it material, money, any capital you talk about, the way we manage, okay, if at all we are thinking of managing in the same way, our most important capital or the set which is human capital, it may not work, and everybody sitting in the room will vary. A very simple example, simple and relatable, that if at all we buy a Mercedes Benz of the same make, same class, and the same variables are there, both will, if not the same, they will perform exactly the similar, right? But when it comes to behavior of two identical, even the identical twins will not behave the same. And that's what for me, that having that core belief. And that's, when I say this, okay, so what all I mean to say that, there is nothing in any of the organization, no matter how robust systems, processes, and practices we have, one fit for all size solution. And when I say this, that does not mean that if I have thousands of employees, we will have a kind of different thousands of policies and processes to them. Okay, the broader guideline, okay, which is conducive for the business, okay, which is in the broad way of companies values and ethics, that will not change. Okay, but under that there should be the flexibility which is glued with something called trust. If it is there, then it works. And when I say so, for example, I mean, when I started my career in 2007, something which was being appreciated big way, that if somebody is clocking in and clocking out, okay, on time, slogging a lot, would be automatically appreciated. No matter somebody who is, working very efficiently, leaving on time for the gym or table tennis, people will raise the eyebrow. I think time is changing, correct? And now it is different. So when I say that, and that's where the flexibility comes into the play. And much before, I think when before this COVID, when COVID hit, in my earlier organization, when we were trying to implement that flexible work policy and all, there was different debate. When one of my business heads said that my people will not take the machines at home to so there the journey started. And when it comes to, now post COVID, the one of the every disadvantages has some of the advantages. One of the advantages that we have really learned to operate remotely. Okay, so now, and when we say that, why trust is the glue? If there is there is any policy, you take it, okay, and if you try implementing it, again a very simple one. The old school thought that if someone has to go from one grade to the another grade, okay, then one has to stay in that grade for particular 3 years. Okay. Now this will not work. One can slog in that particular grade for throughout the career, or maybe one will keep changing, keep moving up and on every year. Okay. So that's the reason here, something which matters a lot, having a very, very authentic leadership, okay, authentic career conversation with the people, that every individual is different, okay, what it matters. For somebody flexibility matters, for somebody position matters, for somebody it is like the money matters, okay. So having that and having the framework around it, which is, and and the foundation for me is like, with the factor of trust, how we are giving the purpose to each and everybody who is entering the premises of your organization, that your career is being taken care of. So if learning is your this, have a trust on us, and these all are the initiatives. For example, if again here I include technology, right? So we have a system called Navigate, okay, that talks about that if you have this competence, these all are the lateral, up, down, career is available for you. You enter that, you will see that where is the gap. You start working on it. So here technology, and then having the trust on the manager, on the leadership, and the HR, and the process and system which is built on, works together and gives the purpose that his or her career is being taken care in this organization. So that's what I mean, that if you're treating a person as a feeling being, there in the personal touch, in the form of trust, in the form of authentic connection, takes the things long way. Thank you.
Thank you, Archana. It really makes a lot of sense that yes, authenticity is very important when you talk about leadership. And when you talk about having employees, when we talk about employees' trust, this comes the first. Unless and until that authenticity is not there, it is very difficult to build the trust. And the second important thing again is about transparency, and probably I'm going to come to you, Mahesh, now on that. You have played a diverse role within HR, managing strategies, digital initiatives, operations, talent management, and you've also been a board member of a public limited entity. So in this role, what impact does organizational transparency have on employee trust and inclusion, and how does this influence on the retention when we talk about even retaining the top talent?
Okay, so let me first talk about trust. Okay, so I always hear one thing, that trust comes with the speed of turtle and goes with the speed of cheetah, right? So basically, building trust is something is not easy. And not only one factor can build trust, but there are multiple things as an organization and as an intent that we need to show. Like most of the time, organization do a lot of stuff, okay, but that intent is not visible to the employees. So whatever you do may not be giving you that result, and that is what it's called a perception versus reality. So sometime the way you are doing things should be perceived as well. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for an organization to show that impact. So that is point number one. Now, when it comes to a trust, a very interesting thing, which basically you talked about, the organizational transparency. Okay, now people knows today that social media platforms, the amount of speed of information that flows from one side to other is very fast. I remember, because when I started my career, I actually picked up one point from her. She started in 2007. I started in 1996, 97. So that point in time, I used to get a memos with my MD writing something, Mahesh, / and then signature. So that's the method that I have seen, how the information used to flow. But today the information flowing is a very different. The way we see WhatsApp, YouTube, you just say anything that much faster compared to what we think. Now, transparency is something is very subjective, and as a management, because I'm representing management most of the time and also an employee, so what happens that I will pick and choose my transparency. It's a very thin line between what I wanted to say today and what I wanted to say tomorrow. So for example, I'm giving two small examples. If I am doing a merger and acquisition, I can't go back to a larger pool saying I'm doing any such activity, because it has an impact on the Security Exchange Board of India regulation as well as the Registrar of Companies regulation. I cannot speculate anything, because that will impact the share prices, the valuation of the companies, and so on and so forth. So I should be waiting for that particular time and right place to provide that information. If I'm reducing people, suppose because of the worst case scenario, I can't go back and communicate that to the employees at the before right time, because that will be like boiling ocean. Because everybody, like, impact is 2, but 200 people are unhappy. Okay, so ideally what I'm saying here is that transparency is important, but then I always keep that as a discretion of two things. That what kind of information would be helpful for an employee and what kind of information is not helping for an employee. And basis that, I think so I would really love to take those decisions. And that is where that thin line between the transparency. Now, how that has an impact on retention is something very interesting, because any communication that you do has a negative, positive, or a neutral impact on the employee. And if that impact goes negative, then definitely it has an impact on the retention. But if that is a positive, then I don't think so that would be an impact of retention. And it also decides by the history of the organization. So for example, might be I'm representing the organization which is 130-year-old today in the system, and we have a very good channels to communicate with our employees, be it it's Twitter, or be it it's a Yammer, be it it's a Teams, or maybe other external platforms that we have. That means we have a laid down process, how we need to communicate, and that actually gives me a lot of confidence that my people are well informed, one, at right time, and third, they are taking that very rightly because they have seen that is the trend from the organization. And that, I think so, transparency is something still I say is a thin line between what you need to say, what you need not to say, and when to say. Because that will decide, even you say something early will have a bad impact. Okay, and that will be more damaging for a brand, like any brand for that matter, and that's something we need to be little cognizant of.
Thank you, Mahesh. This is really valuable and very well said that transparency is again a thin line, because your communication as a leader creates an impact. Then it's positive, negative, or neutral. You need to be very cautious about what you share, when you share, and how you share. When we talked about it, let's move to Razia now, where I want to know about retention. Razia, I'm going to get to you for the retention part of it. You have been into diversity hiring, veteran, PWD, LGBTQAI individuals, neurological differences, men on break, even returning mothers, and so many different things. So what strategies do you employ to attract and retain top talent, ensuring that workforce remains diverse engaged and aligned to the company values?
Thank you so much, Gitanjali. And before answering this question, I want to throw a question to the audience. What you look into your job, apart from salary? Yes. Absolutely. Right. And
More salary.
good one. And for you, it's a purpose. And right? Good culture, good environment. Right. We all know. Absolutely, that matters a lot because we spend 9 hours with them. I understand that. So we look all those parameters. When our parents were there, that era was industrialization. The basic expectation from that era was just to take care of their house, their own house, their vehicle. That was a luxury for them. Our era was internet. And the era which we are dealing is the alpha. And this alpha era is very social. They are very vocal and they are very smart. So now the attracting and retaining the talent is becoming one of the challenging area and a key function, in fact, how to drive that. So that is one. Coming to the diversity hiring and retaining them. So we used to concentrate only when it comes to diversity, it's a female. But always we did not concentrate on, there are other form of diversity, like veterans, PWD, LGBTQ, neurodiversity. In fact, in my few organization, I hired and retained the LGBTQ. And I failed because I did not did my basic analysis or homework, you say. But that was a learning for me. But when I joined my next organization, that came a learning lesson for me. So when you're hiring this diversity, you have to take care of the basic infrastructure. We are getting the diversity inside, but do we really have that infrastructure which will support them? Are the employees, are the management is cautious, well trained, well educated, how to deal with them, how to handle them? That awareness is very important. So for that, how we do that awareness, like training programs, a lot of like getting the consultant outside the industry who have the expertise in how to train these people, how to handle these people. And I would like to share my experience about the neurodiversity, which I did in BNY Mellon. So that was a big experiment for me. So in BNY Mellon, we hired 30 neurodiversity candidates. The first batch was a big failure, but took it as a setback. We took it as an experience. We did a lot of analysis. We did our homework, where we went wrong and all those stuff. So when you're attracting or retaining the diversity talent, you have to do a lot of analysis in terms of retaining them, basically by taking care of their basic needs, the infrastructure, making the colleague and the management aware about the conscious mindset we should have while dealing with them. And the advantage of bringing this diverse talent is like, we get so many prospects, so many different directions, ideas. And to retain this, we should always welcome the ideas. We should have the open door policy. And most important, we should create the feeling of belongingness. That is more important. So that is how I have been successful in attracting this.
Thank you so much, Razia. This means a lot. Creating that environment of belongingness is something which I feel is very, very important when you talk about diverse hiring. Farzeen, getting to you, you are heading fashion clothing brand. That's something really, really different, and I'm so curious to hear from you. That includes retail as well, and you operate in a unique, creative, and youth-focused market, is what I feel so. So, how do you ensure that inclusion and employee well-being are prioritized in your company to create a thriving environment for creativity?
So I would say creativity doesn't only, exist in the brand's identity, but I think it exists at every store of ours. So when we say that, I would like to tell you all a story here, wherein the organization started with a purpose. Of course, it's a 2-decade-old organization where the thought was that how do we give it back to the society? Of course, Salman owns this company, and it was started initially that how do we fund the foundation, because we need to take care of the needy in terms of healthcare and education. It's traversed a long journey in terms of today the presence in India is across almost 38 cities with more than 100 stores. Internationally, we have around 15 odd stores now. The expansion for this current year is around 135 stores. And the basics remains the same. So when we say that, every store of ours today has a specially able staff. Now that means the person could either be a mute person or a deaf person, could be a dwarf. We are looking at women coming back to us, not from the careers which they left, but also from people who've been, a part of the society which you and I would never want to be. So I think that's inclusion for us, and the creativity as that end. So I think the culture what we have today at Being Human, and of course prior to this I had worked across various big conglomerates. Trust, transparency, and more importantly, a place where people would want to come every day and have their own creativity being valued. I think that's what Being Human is doing to people today. So we are, when I talk about it, in fact, we have gender neutral hirings, which is of course very common today. But I think when I started this in the year 2004, people looked up to me and say, "What are you saying? You'll not give me names on the CV?" And then I said, "Yes, of course, I would not give you that. Because why do you want to refrain yourself in, actually educating yourself and your team members and evaluating somebody?" I'm saying it started way back. Of course, here at Being Human, it's at a different league. So for us, creativity is across in terms of our hirings or in terms of all our processes. In fact, in retail specifically, this is my second stint in retail. Today, we have the best possible policies, which is equivalent for everybody. So whether you're a president or a peon, the policy remains the same. That's inclusion for us.
That's amazing. That's really, really amazing. Top to bottom is how it goes. So that's really nice. So now with this, let's move towards technology, which is very important again when we talk about building inclusive world, when we talk about building trust. Technology is also something which is very important. We cannot leave that. Over the past few years, and when I talk about healthcare sector, it has faced numerous challenges arising from the worldwide digital transformation, the pandemic, the significant demographic shifts, and a lot of other things. And AI is something right today, even in every session we have heard about AI. This is the most crucial technology advancement today. So I would like to hear from you, Sudhir, with your key strengths in business growth, marketing strategy, product development, analytics, and so many other things. What are some emerging technologies that you see as critical to enhancing talent management and employee well-being?
Sure. Thank you for the question, and thank you, Sapphire, for having us. Before I respond to you, I would also extend thanks to the audience who are staying with us after the post-lunch dip and fighting so hard with the increase in serotonin levels. So a round of applause for all of you. So I can also appreciate the sincerity which you have displayed. I can see a lot of people writing a lot of notes. So thank you for the attention so far. And thank you, Mahesh and Razia, bringing on those eras. I have also written down expense statements, handwritten. So that's there. Now, before we move to technology, it won't do justice if we don't look at in entirety. Now, we believe that technology can solve end-to-end, but that's only part of it. Now, for healthcare, when we look at, technology has few aspects which it has solved. Some of the other aspects has to come together. So let me try to structure it and make it more meaningful. So one is what technology has done post-COVID is try to create a access, create an interface or access for people to use it in a much easier ways, the apps, platforms, and things like that. Second, what they have also done is they've tried to create a personalization aspect. There are a lot of recommendation engines, Even when you talk about a movie, the next things you'd see on Netflix is this the movie which you have spoken about. So that's the kind of personalization which has happened. The third thing which they have done is a navigation. How do they navigate you to the respective thing? So that's about technology. Now let's say where technology could not do much, although it is there, is a bit of consolidation of different data available for a corporate or enterprise. Broadly, you will have three sets of data. One is insured benefits. We have HR leaders here, so they would agree with me. The second is you have HR data, which is payroll and all other aspects. And the third is healthcare, OP data. So all this put together becomes 100%. But very seldom you would find these three data sets talking to each other and trying to create a meaning. So you have 10% in hospital, 90% OPD, and 100% for employees. But if you see, the basic core of an organization is to maximize wealth. Now why we are talking health? Because health is coming in the way of wealth. Right? Otherwise, for organization, it may not be a priority. I'm trying to be a little more practical, in my response. So if this is coming in your way and you want to track productivity, absenteeism, sickness management, things like that, all these three aspects have to come together. And just to give you an example, how some of the things can be resolved is, creating a journey. So for some of the corporates where HCL Healthcare is solving for them is they've created a journey where every touch point is integrated. We have created paperless experience in our point of care inside the premises, and we have created longitudinal data when it is off the premises. So this is just one aspect. And the third angle is the point of care or point of execution. You may have a fantastic platform, which can bring you food at your home, but it cannot guarantee you the quality of food. So that's point of care. So how is technology of point A to point B is coming together and then creating that experience for the end user? I think that's very important. And here where you have these aspects which can help improving the experience and binding it all together, which is AI for product related things. So Mish talked about Abbott. We have those CGM patches, which is a very new thing, and now it is becoming more common for diabetic management. Similarly, you have IoT, Internet of Medical Things. You would have heard that as well. And there are a lot of predictive analytics and navigation tools which are there. So these could help you in binding this. Now, all of it would not be possible without the fourth and most important angle, which is you and me, human beings, right? So a clinical judgment, a medical recommendation, a health advocacy, a health education will always come from people, who will help in an employee or a user or an individual in deciding how do they kind of, reach to a particular solution or a decision. I think these are the four segments how we should look at technology. And it's very important when you are laying down your own framework to keep these pillars in mind and then accordingly select your partners or your providers. Internally also, your business and strategic alignment should be in line with that. So that's my 2 bit on this. Thank you.
That's really, really wonderful. And I feel the education part of which is something very, very important, because many times people don't know. They need to be aware about the facilities. And creating a journey for the employees is something which I'm going to take it as a takeaway for me, Sudhir. That's really nice. So we've been talking about building trust, which is very, very important, and building an inclusive environment in an organization. Technology plays an important role, and we cannot move ahead without technology. That's a part of our life now. That's all said. But we do know that building trust is a gradual process. It cannot be done overnight. There are various different factors which are important when you talk about building trust. And to that, some of the very important factors are the employee well-being, the mental health and the well-being of employees. So let's move to this important topic. And I would get to you, Archana. How can organizations build trust with employees regarding mental health support? Because that's something which, destigmatizing of mental health issues is something very, very important. Employees providing them the right resources is something very, very important. But how can the organizations do this, ensuring they feel safe and supported?
Uh, Great question, Gitanjali, and you rightly said that, there's stigma around it. So whenever we talk about any kind of physical illness, okay, so there is no such kind of initiative and awareness that, how people should be coming across and talking about it. But when it comes to mental well-being or mental problem, maybe a small depression also, there, people are not as comfortable as talking about their pneumonia to cancer, right? And there I think, and it is not in a corporate or organization, this is the taboo which is across the globe. And in the corporate setup, what exactly can be done? Again, the trust plays a very vital role. Having a culture of a very authentic trust. And when I say so, okay, so apart from walking the talk, demonstrating the right leadership behavior or authentic leadership behavior, there has to be certain ways and means initiated, because we have a very long way to cover that journey where people will be as comfortable to talk about their depression or mental problem as they talk about any kind of another physical discomfort or disease. And for that, I think it again, when we talk about the culture or a culture of trust, to me, I believe that it starts from the leadership. When we are trying to make that culture, it starts from the leadership. Why? And there I feel that the authentic leadership or the next level, the vulnerable leadership is very much important. And when I say so, I think one of you and in this dais also are the leadership role. So there is a kind of a self-imposed stigma again that when one is the leader is perfect. Okay, so they need not to be weak. They should not be showing their vulnerability. They should not feel low and all. And that is the reason there is a kind of a facade where we want to show that we are perfect. But in this process, what exactly we are doing, we are losing that authenticity. And when a leader starts being, in a subtle way vulnerable and talking about their low time and sharing the experiences and all, that gives, again, a kind of a confidence to the entire organization. If my leader talks about that, why can't I? Okay, so that is the one thing which is, again, does not come from any process and system. Again, it's a behavior. Okay, and that starts from the top. So that's the one thing. And I said that since it's a long journey and having it in any of the organization, apart from the right leadership and all, there are some systems and processes should be in the place. For example, again, the mental well-being and all that has taken a lot of momentum post-COVID. Okay, and that's the reason organization has started a lot of initiative. So whatever policies, processes, systems we are keeping, that need to be absolutely transparent. When I say absolutely transparent, there are a lot of initiatives for the physical illness and this. That should be exactly, transparent, that if at all you have this problem, you can talk about it. These are the benefits, right? And there is absolutely okay to be not okay. Having said that and having all the process and system and policies, again, psychological safety is very much required. And I know that many of the organizations, including where we work, there are, that employee assistant services, where if you have any problem, okay, you can go to the psychologist or, counselor, and you can speak. And that has to be very, very anonymous and confidential, so that a person got a psychological safe place where that person can vent out. So that is the one thing which is being done, right? Apart from that also, we feel that we are doing a lot, right? And that's what we are feeling, but how it is being perceived. So I think anonymous surveys where we are getting, their perception, that how they are feeling, how they are perceiving whatever we are doing, and accordingly tweaking in what exactly we are doing. And then just to break that taboo, this mental well-being should be the part of which is there also, the total well-being, and it should be the part of the culture, and that would be coming across, touching base everything and anything and everything which we do, and then only it will become kind of a way of life or the holistic culture of trust for the organization, where there would be a situation where an employee with all the ease would be able to talk about and seek support. That's my view.
Wonderful, Archana. Really, really. Um, as a leader, you speaking about this, it is something really, really important because you set an example. I know it's not easy to do it, but it's important. Like, this doesn't relate with HR as such, but one example that comes to my mind is about Deepika Padukone when she spoke about her being into depression. And there were so many other females who felt that if she can share about it openly, even I can share about it openly. So this is just an example from an outside world, but that's how it is. Like, when you are open about it, you are listening to your employees, you give that ear to that employees, it becomes easy for creating a safer space for them to share about their mental health, and then you can work on it, because unless and until you are not a good listener, you cannot create a safe space. So thank you so much, Archana, and I feel that in this, empathy plays a very major role when we talk about well-being. With that, I would come to Sudhir. I would like to know about, when I read about you and I got to know that you are more into, product development, the creative product development and sales and marketing. How has fostering an inclusive culture within your organization contributed to developing products that embody inclusiveness? So there are many organizations into product development, but when you're doing that, how can you integrate that so that your product also embodies inclusiveness, and then that turns out or drives sales and takes your organization to success?
Sure, thank you. And I'll just take few cues from what mentioned, that on the health side, it may sound like a relatively simpler topic, but it's actually much deeper. So mental health is while one pillar of it, but if you look at, there are multiple facets and aspects of it, and these days you would hear the term called as total health. So when they talk about total health, it ranges from your physical health and then goes up to mental health as well, and then body, mind, soul, and all that aspects. I'm leaving, that aside. But at a concept level, product of course is a outcome of how do you think and what do you want to solve. But at a concept level, it's very important to look at how are you providing continuity of care, and that can happen at 3 levels. So let me elaborate that and come to what kind of solution will be there. The first level is at a individual level, or we can call it as a persona level. Now we say that we have 20 plus personas, and accordingly we personalize things and things like that. So at a personal level, how are we solving that for that individual? Either it is demographically resolved, or it is gender wise, or various other things. For example, if you have a large organization, you will have at least a group which is sports enthusiasts, and you tell them, you give them a yoga lesson, and you know what will happen. But on the other hand, you will have somebody who is relatively, enjoys the rasmalais and puddings and things like that. For them, you tell them, how can you change 0.5% of your BMI? That doesn't resonate with them. So these are two complete different ends. And so that's how you can, look at that persona difference. Then what we should also remember is, this individual is backed by his family. So how is that inclusiveness we are trying to drive, where we are supporting either directly or indirectly to that family. So that's at an individual level. Second is at a service level. The person is coming to workplace, then is going back his home. So there is a person traveling at 2 different points. So workplace solutions or on-premises solution has to talk to off-premise solution also, and that's what we call it as continuity of care at a service level. The third is specialized care. So there are organizations where we will have employees with mobility issues. So how are we solving problem for them? So that's the third level. Now, from a product perspective, it's very important that we solve something for the workplace, which is on-site care, and that could entail primary care, emergency care, and health safety. Then we create a framework around it, which is preventive care and wellness. I think that's the way it should be stitched. And you have numerous products, I don't want to really elaborate the products, but that's at a concept and framework level one has to, kind of look at. Second is at an organization level, it is very important that it should be culturally aligned. How we had Archana mentioned, the culture aspect of it. It's very important that it's culturally aligned and also it is business aligned. So leadership involvement is one, and a support at a manager level is the very second. It is a very important pillar there. If you see the business success is driven by these two, important pillars, and so would be the case for healthcare as well. If one of them are not aligned, and from intent to action, there will be a very huge gap. So that's very important. And while you would say quality is a value, but then you will give the different communication to the purchase department, telling them choose the provider who is L1. So it's completely ironical. So that won't happen. You would say that diversity and inclusion is our priority, but you don't have a women health and safety provisioning inside the office. So that's completely two different things which is not aligned. So it has to resonate well. What you have defined for business has to be defined for healthcare as well. Then the success is relatively higher. And lastly, if there is a framework which is available based on what you think as an organization is important for you, then you will be able to charter out those product and solutions for them. So that's there on from a product perspective. What we have done at HCL Healthcare, just to give a good example, we always thought that if we are going and talking about healthcare, it's important that we do something about it. So we have introduced an award which is called as Green Apple Award, which we give in our annual event. So this is a very important award, and we announce it in the middle of the program, and people try different aspects for it: weight reduction, condition management, various things which they do. So that's the kind of embracing the entire aspect comes in. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sudhir. Understanding the unique needs of people is something which is very, very important and primitive. And the product being culturally aligned is something which I take away from what you shared. Thank you so much. Let me come to you, Mahesh. And you spoke about, what is important when Razia asked the sense of purpose. And even McKinsey and Company's research studies also say that employees expect their jobs to provide a sense of purpose. And the organizations need to address that when we talk about mental health. And you have a wonderful experience, a vibrant experience in even maintaining a union-free environment when you're working with a public company. So can you share some successful strategies or programs your organization has implemented to promote employee well-being at workplace?
Okay, so first of all, we are more talking about mental well-being, and there is a mantra today: do more with less. Okay, and that is not only for companies, but it is for all of us put together in our lives. But it has an impact somewhere. Okay, so a quick check from all of you: how many of you get up in the midnight suddenly by some important meeting next day, or something missed, or something important happened? Any hand raise? It happens with us. Okay, so it happens. And how many of us sees the, some email in the night, and then I'm supposed to be going to the bed at 11 o'clock, but now going to the bed at 1 o'clock because now I'm disturbed. I'm unable to sleep. Where it is going? It is going because of the mental issues and the mental challenges or a well-being of the employees that we think of. And actually, I was scanning a couple of studies in past for some other projects that we are doing, because we have a GCCs here, which is a big in size. And if there is a mental well-being issue, then around 30 to 35% of the absenteeism that we see in the company is primarily because of that. So addressing that would be also helpful for the top line and the bottom line of the companies as well. So it is something very important topic. Now, how to deal with that? Because I am representing a company which is global, operating out of 130 countries. So one basic challenge that we see is that US counterpart of mine, we are 70% serving to the global clients. Okay, my 70% of the population serving to the global clients. So they will going to set up a call in the night, but which is very uncomfortable time. It's a family time for us, and it's not really appreciative. Second, no, nothing we can allow to happen on Friday evening for us. Okay, so I will not have any call after 6:30 in the Friday evening, even though I'm representing a global company. So as an organization, we do basically two strategies: push and pull. Okay, and why I'm saying that, there are few which will going to pushed by the management. So a couple of things, successful thing that we have done. One is definitely a good policies that I just talked about. Second, we have a EAP, that is an employee assistance program. Now in assistance program, we have a separate mental well-being program as well, where people can directly talk to the third party consultant without intimating us at all. So it's a confidential, they need not to go to our channel, but they will have that helpline number, which is provided by the Honeywell, and they can basically then go and talk about that. Okay, that is something that I have seen a good success, and people are using it. Very interestingly, I think so people are stressed because of two major reasons. They take a lot of loans, financial situations, families. So how we can basically educate them on this particular piece? So on periodic basis, we take, we call experts, say for example, somebody from Registrar of Companies, somebody from the Chartered Accountant Institutes or Security Exchange Board of India, they come and talk to our employees in a broader way, so that they can educate them about the financial inclusion, how we need to plan. So that eases a lot of tension to them, and they also understand the new instruments that we can run through. And on the top of it, we also keep a lot of watch in the market. So for example, I don't know how many of you know, but in past, the mental issues were not covered in the health policies. Okay, if you take a health policy, any mental issue happens, then it's not covered. But IRDA changed the regulation 1.5 years back, and now you can include those things into part of your healthcare programs. So ideally, that is what we also make sure that we are a first entrant into those kind of a stuff, and we are providing those benefits to our employees. So those are the stuff that we do. And last but not the least, manager plays a very crucial role here, because for any employee, manager is the world or the company that he represents. So ideally, manager should not be unconsciously biased on any of the things, and that's why we provide a lot of trainings to the manager about the manager maturity and unconscious bias. So those are the successful strategies that we have as far as the Honeywell is concerned.
Thank you so much, Mahesh. I really feel that you've shared a lot of strategies and good points what Honeywell follows, the push and pull and the EAP. I feel the financial literacy part is something very, very important, because even if we feel that, yes, I am financially literate, there are so many things we don't know about. And once you can solve that, things fall in place. And we do find and we do see nowadays organizations getting into it, so that that connects to the mental well-being of the employees. With that, let me come to Farzeen. As a leader, you have played a major role in making Being Human get recognized as the best place to work. So how do you align leadership goals with broader organizational strategies to ensure consistency in promoting a culture of well-being and inclusion? So it's about building trust and branding.
So what we proudly say, being human is actually a choice which a person makes, right? So we say we are a clothing line with a heart, and that's the tagline which kinds of marries with all the values which we have today in the organization. So we believe integrity, trust, transparency, this is already there in people, because we take people at face value, not with the bag and baggage with which they bring onto the table. The values, what is being looked at the organizations are love, care, share, joy, hope, help. All our programs are built around it. Right from the leadership vision to, I'm saying, the KRA which is being built for the store manager is built with that vision and that values in mind. In fact, the entire organization fosters the synergy of being empathetic to people, being there for people with certain set of programs which we run in terms of where the team itself acts like a mentor-mentee to them, wherein their lower strata people who are actually not able to come up with the productivity are getting helped there at the store, which actually helps gain the productivity, which in terms the region's performance and the organization goals. So communication, of course, plays a very important role. So when we say that, it's like the language what we all talk is what we all preach and practice across. So we walk the talk is what we would like to say. And in terms of brand building, we all proudly say that, whatever we do today is for the tomorrow. Whether you say that you participate in a lot of campaigns in terms of not the well-being of the society, but also in terms of how do you take care of Mother Earth, because we are into the manufacturing and selling of garments. How do we ensure that we are in a sustainable growth pattern where we say that that let's look at an innovation and creativity angle where we are making denims out of PET bottles, and this idea and the creativities come from the store. So when we say that every person today is responsible for what is being sold. So we say, and of course, one part of it goes to the Foundation for Charity, but then that's only one part because we are for-profit organization. Then how do we ensure that we kind of give away that profit to the people? Paisa bolta hai, people say, but then I'm saying we have people who would not work for money because the inculcation of values is so strong that people really don't bother about it, trust me. In fact, we've not been being a local brand, we say, or we say a national brand with a global presence. Today we've been able to move people right from India to Canada. And that also not only in terms of people who are really highly qualified, but also in terms of who come from marginalized communities. I think that's the inclusion and that's the drive which is there from the leadership. I think we are really, I would like to add some more, but over to you, Gitanjali.
What you said, Farzeen, being human is a choice, is something which is really, really touching. That's really, really important. So I'm taking it as being human and not like the name of the company, but being human is a choice we make, right? And when we talk about the consistency, it's about the vision and values which you bring. That's very important. So with that, we come to the last question. And Mahesh had spoken about unconscious bias. So I'm going to take this question to Razia. And we talk about unconscious bias a little bit more because I feel that whatever we spoke about building trust or talk about the employee well-being, the mental health, everything is about the mindset. Yeah, it's all about revolving around the mindset and it all talks about, it boils down to unconscious bias. And this is one of the very important part being in HR when we talk about hiring. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, how do you address unconscious bias in recruitment and promotions? And to ensure that there's true inclusion at workplace?
Right. Good question. Gitanjali, Mahesh, Archana, and Farzeen have covered most of the points. When it comes to recruitment, what I follow and what my organization, Shinekron, follows is like, we make responsible during the recruitment process each and every individual who is involved in that. Because one bad hire is a big loss, it's a big risk to the organization. So for example, if somebody's hiring, it's a wrong hire, we won't hold one person responsible for it. We hold the entire team who is involved into that recruitment process. And by creating this process or by implementing this process helped us to control the biasness also indirectly, because people are doing the recruitment with a conscious mindset because they are responsible, they are owning the process, and one bad hire, they will be accountable for it. So this is the one of the practice which I follow in my organization. When it comes to promotions, we follow a very structured approach over there. And here the primary, we don't only have one angle for the promotion, we take the 360-degree angle to the promotion. Definitely the stakeholder feedback, your team member feedback, your colleague feedback. Most important, the weightage is given on the data, the facts, the training program, and what is the succession planning you have done for yourself, how the roadmap is carved for yourself, and what you have done for that. So recruitment and promotion, I think it's a very vast topic, but with the help of all these processes on place, if we follow them, if we implement them, I think we can control the unbiasedness in the promotion as well in the recruitment process.
True, true. And importantly, when as leaders, it is very important to you yourself not have that biasness.
Yes,
You
of course.
mitigate that biasness, and then it drills down. That's very important. Creating that awareness in the organization through various platforms like trainings or walking the talk, probably, like
It's not the overnight journey.
Yes,
It is like
yes.
it is a continuous process.
Yes, it's a gradual process. Very, very rightly said, Razia. The way we talked about trust, the same goes with unconscious bias as well. So it was really an insightful discussion, and I'm so glad to listen to you all and learn and unlearn so many things. As we conclude, what very important points what we discussed today about is building trust and inclusion. Building a culture of trust and inclusion is foundational for any thriving organization. And when we talk about trust and inclusion, taking care of every aspect, it's not only about mental health being or well-being or any other thing, but it's about considering the person as a human being. People are something which is very, very important, and adapting to the changes, the way Sudhir also talked about technology, things are going to change, but adapting them and ensuring that you bring that inclusiveness in your day-to-day work is very, very important. So thank you to our panelists for your valuable insights, and to our audience to their active participation. Let's continue to prioritize our people. They are the biggest assets. Thank you.